Yeah, I don't need to be as loud as Brother Hank. Make sure I'm turned down. Miss Debbie always makes him use his inside voice. I think we've been 5 weeks, maybe 4, going through the book of Micah. And already I'm starting to worry that we're kind of losing the flow of the book. Brother Kevin, I've come across some things that are just so encouraging to me and in my life. I've spent some time, Brother Ivy, there's been a lot of time really in application of what's there towards us and where we are today. And I don't apologize for that. I think there's great value in that. But also in applying things to us today, we can lose sight of exactly how it was written and what it said to that group at the time. And I don't want to do that. If we're going to make proper application for us today, we have to understand exactly what it was then, or our application can be skewed. And so what I'd like to do this morning is first, just go back and remember a few things so that we can keep things in proper context as we continue to move forward. And first, we'll just begin in chapter 1. Now, we're going to do this pretty quickly, so I don't expect this to be long, but I do want to keep everything inside the framework of the context of the book. Micah chapter 1, it begins in verse 2, really. Verse 1, just an introduction to Micah. Verse 2, hear all ye people. Very important that what we're here right here, Brother Wayne, it's all the people. It's not what's about to happen, the entire earth is supposed to learn from. This isn't just something that the nation of Israel, the northern kingdom, this isn't just something that the southern kingdom, although he ministered primarily to the southern kingdom, he did minister some to the northern kingdom. Primarily, he is a southern kingdom prophet. It's not just these two areas that are supposed to learn. It's the entire earth. It's all the people should learn from God's working. And we see that in the next phrase. Hear, all ye people, hearken, O earth. Everyone needs to learn. And all that is therein. In case you missed it, it's all the people, it's the entire earth, it's all that's therein the earth. Everyone is supposed to learn from what's about to happen to the nation of Israel and the nation of Judah. And let the Lord God be witness against you, the Lord from his holy temple. Now this is what happens in all of the prophets. Every one of the prophets in the Old Testament, this is what happens. Brother Wayne, it's God in heaven witnessing against you. He sends a prophet to witness against you, to say, this is what you're guilty of. He sends a prophet, and what he's doing is laying the charge. Here's what the indictment is. And that's where the book starts out with Micah doing exactly that. God has spoken to me, and I'm coming with an indictment. Now, we see that indictment as we go a little bit further. Verse 5. For the transgression of Jacob renamed Israel, okay, father of both the northern and the southern. It's his 12 children. It's his 12 tribes. For the transgression of Jacob is all this. And for the sins of the house of Israel, what is? In case you wanted to know, Brother Ivy, if you wanted to know, here you go. What is the transgression of Jacob? Is it not Samaria? And what are the high places of Judah? Are they not Jerusalem? Now it goes on. And verse 7. And all the graven images thereof shall be beaten to pieces, and all the hires thereof shall be burned with the fire, and all the idols thereof will I lay desolate. For she gathered it of the hire of a harlot, and they shall return to the hire of a harlot. So, what is the charge against the nation of Israel? What's the charge against the nation of Judah? Because he's going to tell that in verse 9, he's going to say, it's both of you. What's the charge is idolatry. The charge is you've left me. In fact, he gets so graphic as the word here to talk about harlotry. Ms. Debbie's saying, this is what happened. You've gone and you've committed adultery. You've cheated on me. You've replaced me with someone else. And that someone doesn't care, doesn't love, they're just for hire. You've replaced me with someone who's taking advantage of you, and you're okay with that. That your choice is to be taken advantage of. Now in verse 9, for her wound is incurable. It is come unto Judah. This is talking about the nation of Israel, the northern. Brother Hank, it has to happen. It's incurable. In fact, It's incurable, and it's spread. Now, here's the perfect picture of cancer. You know, it's not solvable. You got to cut it out. If you don't cut it out, it's going to keep growing. It's already grown to infect the nation of Judah. It's already spread. We're going to jump over here in chapter 2 in a minute. And the challenge with chapter 2 is, Justin, remember the challenge in chapter 2 is they're saying, would a loving God do this? Well, the question is, would a loving God let this cancer spread and destroy the entire body? No, a loving God is going to cut out the cancer so the body can exist. Okay, and that's the proclamation in chapter 1. Now, it leaves, when you get done with chapter 1, it's pretty solemn. The end of chapter 1 is Israel is going to be destroyed. Judah is going to be judged. There you go. It's incurable. It's unstoppable. It's been pronounced. It's going to happen. Brother Hamilton, I wouldn't like to be in that place. I mean, truly, when you get done with chapter 1, it is exactly that place. Now, chapter 2 starts with one of my new favorite verses of all time. I love this verse. I'm not going to go through it again, but I'm going to tell you this is a great verse. It's the cycle of sin. Woe to them that devise iniquity, that work evil upon their beds. It all starts in the brain. When morning is light, when you think about something long enough, when you make a way for it to happen. When morning is light, they practice it. What happens, you dwell on it, it's going to come to pass. You're going to find a way, you're going to make it happen. Because it is in the power of their hand. Now, I am going to bring this up because here's where it ties together. Brother Rick, remember, we looked up that word power. That word right there is the word El, as in Elohim. That word there is talking about God. Because what happens is you put God in your hand. What happens is you put yourself in control. You make yourself God. Now, what are we talking about in chapter 1? What was the sin? It was idolatry. Now, how does chapter 2 begin? Yeah, the idol, you've got your high places. You've got your graven images. You've got the things made in the workshops. Okay, you've got all those. But the real idol is you put yourself in charge. You're rejecting God, and you're putting yourself in the place of making the decision, of planning out, of controlling. You are the problem is right there. It's self, it's man, it's you. That's the problem of sin, by the way. James chapter 1 tells the same thing. It's our desires. We take our desires. We lust after something. We make that possible. What comes to term is then we do it. Sin is born. Sin, when it's finished, bringeth forth death. Same exact picture. So chapter 2, verse 1 begins, and it broadens this out a little bit. It's idolatry, but now let's make some application. This idolatry is you making you your own God. Okay? Then he begins to throw out some of the charges. Chapter 2 throws out some of the charges, and the first charge was, you're stealing the land. The wealth are becoming richer. You're taking the land from the poor. You're being abusive. You're ignoring the laws that I set up. Verse 5, which we didn't talk about this, so I'm going to just throw it out there. Therefore, thou shalt have none that shall cast a cord by lot in the congregation of the Lord. But Rick, I want to throw this out because that's just a strange verse. Therefore, because I'm going to come, because there's going to be destruction, because I'm going to take the land that you took away, you took it from others, I'm taking it from you. The result of that is verse 5. Thou shalt have none that shall cast a cord. This is the picture. This is how an inheritance would be decided. You're right, I do come knocking down here all the time. So I would come down here. Father gives me the rope. I would take the rope. I would toss the rope as far as I can on your land. And you know where it lands? That now becomes my inheritance. That's how it was done. They would cast the cord. So what he's saying is, when I'm done taking this from you, when I'm done with the destruction of the northern kingdom, there's not going to be any left to even cast the cord. It's all going to be destroyed. Justin, what he's saying is the nation is going to be wiped away. Now for us, we sit right there and say, yep, God's justice, God doing what he said he was going to do. He promised this in Numbers. He promised this in Deuteronomy. He promised this in Leviticus. If you don't, then I will. He promised all of those things, right? So we look at it and we say, this is just God carrying out his covenant, which is true. But to them, they're sitting right there saying, how could God wipe his chosen people off the face of the map? That's what happened. Samaria, the northern kingdom, is wiped away. There's no lineage left to take hold of the land. I just want us to understand a little bit why it was so hard to understand. Now, this goes back to the half-truths. Okay, they're only taking half the truth. But Justin, I've been in church a long time. You know what we try to hold on to? Half the truth. And so we made some application here of this picture. Chapter 2 continues on. Oh, I got to hurry. There's religious challenges. The religious challenges are just like we would expect. You know, God is a covenant-keeping God. God won't do this. He won't wipe us away. God is a God of love. How would a God of love do this? God is a God of long-suffering. Okay, so we haven't been perfect. God doesn't require perfect. He's long-suffering, all of which makes sense. It's the half-truths. God says, you're going to be destroyed. Verses 8 and 9, you have abused the men, you have abused the women, you have abused the children. You've been oppressing, you've been hurting. Your judgment is coming. The nation is going to be destroyed. But then verse 12. It's going to be destroyed. Verse 12. I will surely assemble, O Jacob, all of thee. Now, hopefully we're going to come back and we're going to spend a little time looking at that phrase. It's a hugely important phrase. Justin, it doesn't say, I will surely assemble, O Judah, all of thee. It says, O Jacob, all of thee. No, I just got done telling you, he said he's going to destroy the 10 tribes. He's utterly going to wipe them off the face of the map. And you know what he does? He utterly wipes them off the face of the map. To the point that today you can, not in Sunday school, well, don't do it in church either. So after church is over, go outside and Google the 10 lost tribes. You will have thousands of hits coming up for the 10 lost tribes of Israel because they were wiped off. But what's being missed in that phrase is this: I will surely assemble, O Jacob, all of thee. Okay? I will surely gather the remnant of Israel. Of Israel, not of Judah. I will put them together as the sheep of Bozrah, as the flock in the midst of their fold. They shall make great noise by reason of the multitude of men. Again, we're going to come back. We're going to look at that in a minute. So this is chapter 2 ends. It ends with, yes, there's going to be destruction, but hold on to this promise that although it's all going to be destroyed, I will save a remnant. I will bring back a remnant. Then the last verse of chapter 2 talks about the breaker, the one who goes before, the one who changes things. It's not going to be the way it would be if there was no breaker, because when the breaker shows up, everything's now different. What wasn't possible is now going to be possible. When you hear that word, think of the icebreaker. Okay, you can't pass through, but when the icebreaker is there, it makes a way. The Lord came, and guess what he did? He made a way for restoration, made a way of the remnant. So that brings us to chapter 3, which is where we were last week. Brother Ivan and we spent a lot of time in chapter 3 because chapter 3 is all about the leaders. And I said, here I pray you, O heads of Jacob, the heads, the bosses, the ones in charge, the ones who have influence. And ye princes of the house of Israel, is it not for you to know judgment? Now, we spent some time there, and we're not going to do this. It was just last week. But the challenge is what he says is you as leaders are not living up to the trust wherewith you were given. And where we spent time is all of us have been given a trust. Brother Wayne, when he gave you a job, you have a trust. Every ability that you have is a trust. He's given it to you. You're going to be accountable for how you use it. The ministry, the money, there is an accountability. What's being taught here in chapter 3 is they didn't live up, when accountability comes, they hadn't lived up to the trust. So, they were just using people for their own personal gain. Now that brings us to where we stopped. And that's verse 4. Well, let me do this. I don't know if I did this. When we talk about a trust, I try not to do this. I've been trying not to walk around for years, but I just can't help myself. I'll let you know. When I'm walking around, it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with me being nervous. This is my feet, stop my brain from realizing I'm in trouble. There is an accountability. I actually do this. Young Ray, give me Hebrews chapter 13. Obey them that have the rule over you and submit yourselves. Hugely important. Okay. Doug, as principal, loves this verse. Loves this verse. Doug, you should love this verse. Especially up to that part. Obey them that have the rule over you and submit yourselves. Okay. But the rest of that verse is not so much fun. For they watch for your souls as they that must give an account, that they may do it with joy and not with grief, for that is unprofitable for you. Now that deals with two things. One, it deals with the accountability you have. You have an accountability as a leader. But it also deals with the accountability that I would have as one who must submit. Okay, now it says I submit with joy because I understand that he is going to be held accountable. But Kevin, what if you and I have to give accountability for how well we surrender? Yeah. What if we have to give accountability for how well we follow? We should spend our time in prayer for our leaders. Yes. Brother Hank, you know how many children I've had come and talk to me, and the first thing they want to do is complain about their parents about how it's not right? Well, pretty much just anyone that's ever talked to me, okay? Somewhere that subject comes up. I will always take it right to here. It's a very tough job being a parent. It's a tough job directing the life of someone else. Have you prayed for them? There is a requirement for us to pray for our leaders. It's a tough job. It's a tough job to be a pastor and lead a flock. It's a tough job. It's a tough job to be the manager. He answers to somebody usually for something that's impossible. It's a tough job. First, what if we had to give an account for how well we follow? Because I think we do. And second, what if we have to give an account for all the things that have been given to us in trust? Our abilities, our homes, our ministry. Okay, because really that's what chapter 3 is teaching. There is an accountability day. Now, that brings us to verse 4, which we didn't get to. Verse 4 is here. Jonathan, this whole book is scary to me. Verse 4 is a very scary verse. Judgment's coming. You haven't lived up to the trust. Judgment is coming. Then shall they cry unto the Lord. You know what's going to happen when judgment comes? Then you're going to say, help! But he will not hear them. Help! Doug, this is one of those phrases kids always like, well, how can God not hear? I thought God knows everything. All right, well, here. God does know everything. Okay. And he does know your prayer. Do you understand God responds to every prayer? I mean, we know. He responds by making it possible. He responds by withholding it. Or he responds by saying, it's not yet my time. Okay, what this verse is saying is, it's not that you can say something that he won't know. You can't trick him. You can't make him ignorant of something. What it means is he's going to go, la 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 la. It means he's going to know it, but he's going to ignore it. There's not a response coming. Justin, you know how scary that is? Our help comes from the idea that I can do something to shut that off. Okay, now here comes one of those half-truths because we don't like that. We like the idea there's nothing we can do. When I was about 12 years old, I got a pamphlet written by John R. Rice called 7 Hindrances to Prayer. It scared the tar out of me. I'll just give you a couple of them. And I think you have most of these verses. James chapter 5. All of these are well-known verses. Is he not up there? James 5. I see that head. Confess your faults one to another. By the way, Doug, we don't like to do this. You know what? We think that's Catholic. This is what confess your faults one to another means to most Baptists. I'm not perfect. I'm just one sinner. The idea of walking openly inside the body, you know, that's what happens when people who walk in the light. Yeah, but we can't be people who walk in the light because we're people who compare all the time. So if I'm tearing this guy down and tearing this guy down and tearing that guy down, I'm going to think they're just like me. I can't give them any ammunition to tear me down. So we walk around like this all the time. And then we wonder why we don't have the fellowship that's supposed to be attractive to the world. Yeah. They know we have love one for another. That's what makes us attractive. We walk around. But confess your faults one to another and pray for one another that you may be healed. The effectual, fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. Effective praying, one of those principles that we may not necessarily like. I actually think this is why lots of times we don't like to pray, because we do know this. So what happens is when we begin to pray, conviction comes, we have to make change in our life. The easiest way to avoid making change, never to pray. But God is faithful. Ask the book of Micah. He's not going to leave us alone. Effective praying depends on right living. The effectual, fervent prayer of a righteous man. It's not a perfect man. Justin, it's a man who seeks and wants and desires God's will because he's surrendered his own. That doesn't mean we don't fall. That doesn't mean we have perfect understanding. That means this is what we seek. Now, Brother Kevin, if this is what we seek, you know what we want? We want reproof. We want to be examined. We want to confess our faults. We want to forgive. We want to be forgiven. Man, this just makes us like Christian living. First Peter chapter 3. Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge. Great verse. Any married seminar, they're going to bring out this verse. Giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life. Usually, you study this verse, you stop reading right there. That your prayers be not hindered. Brother Hank, I'm not real smart. But I understand this. That your prayers be not hindered means if I do that, my prayers be not hindered, If I don't do that, my prayers be hindered. Known division between you and Mrs. Hank hinders your prayer life. How can the closest to you, in fact, so close, become one body, become one flesh? How can you become one flesh? Know that there's division. Who's the author of division? Be okay with it. Hold on to that division, because if you're holding on to that division, you know what you're doing? You're holding on to me, that little L, that power. Hold on to that power, keep that division, and then expect God to intervene and bless it. Oh, I'll just throw out two more. Matthew chapter 5 talks about if you go to the altar and you have offense, go and get reconciled. Kevin, I think an offense inside the church, I think it hinders our prayer life. I think we need to get that corrected. Because you know what they call that? They call that one flesh. You know what we call this? We call this the body. Very next chapter in the book of Matthew. If we forgive not, neither will he forgive. I think an unforgiving spirit. Look, we're supposed to become like him. He's taking us from where we are to where he wants us to be. That's going to be like him. He's forgiving. How can we sit right there and say, I know this, but in this case, I'm not giving in. I just don't like Brother Kevin. Okay? Brother Hanks, okay. Brother Wayne's, okay. Brother Ivy, yeah. But I just don't like Brother Kevin. I'm not doing it. No, bless me. I'm in charge, but I need you here. Sometimes we sound pretty silly. But Kevin, you know how silly we sound? Just as silly as the Israelites when we read the book of Micah. Here, let me give you two more. Very well-known verses. Proverbs 28, verse 9. He that turneth away his ear from hearing the law, which is what was happening here, by the way. He that turneth away his ear from hearing the law, even his prayer shall be an abomination. Now again, Brother Hank, I'm not very smart. God knows I'm not very smart. So he made this pretty simple. If we neglect the Word of God in our life, our prayer life is an abomination. Psalm 66. We all make our kids learn this verse. If I regard iniquity in my heart, the Lord will not hear me. If I just want to hold on to that thing is more important. He says, confess the thing and let me work in your life. These guys have signed up for life without relationship with the living God. Brother Ivy, doesn't that sound so terrible? Question, how many people in this congregation, in the service to follow, in the worship service that follows, have signed up for this Christian life thing without having real relationship? We have no relationship with His Word. We have no relationship in prayer. And then we just wonder why it's so hard. Oh, by the way, this is just way far away from there, so this is just me and you. This is one of my pet peeves. You know, we tell our kids, it's hard, so hard. And then we wonder why they don't sign up for it. Where are all our kids? Well, we told them for 15 years, it's hard, so hard. And you know why it's hard, so hard? Because we're not doing it. Justin, I'm not sure, but doesn't it say my burden's light? My yoke is easy. You know, the yoke is his way. My way, it's the rabbi's way was called a yoke. My way is easy. Life without relationship, pretty lonely, pretty powerless, bringing destruction. All right. Now, I do want to do this so that we're set for next week. When we go into any of the prophets, Brother Kevin, when we go into the prophets, I just don't think our society, our time frame, has prepared our mind to understand how hard this was for them. Because everything about being a Hebrew is about the identity of being a Hebrew. Yeah. We don't have anything that's identity like that anymore. I mean, there might have been a time, 50 years ago, Brother Ivan, there might have been a time 50 years ago where we would say, I'm an American. And like it meant something to the world. It meant something to me. And there should be a time that we say, I'm a Christian. But Justin, we really don't have identity like they did. Everything to this group of people is the fact that they were born of the seed of Jacob, born of Isaac, born of Abram. And so the idea that anything can be done to that, they just wouldn't listen. They would quote Genesis chapter 12. Go to Genesis chapter 12. God calls out Abram from the land of Ur. He says, go to a land that I'll give you. He promises him. He promises his descendants. He promises the land. He said, it's all going to be yours. I'm going to bless you. I'm going to bless your children. Problem, no children. So, they come up with a plan to run ahead of God. And chapter 16, child, Ishmael. Okay, so Abram becomes Abraham. Okay, whoop, Ishmael becomes the Arab nations. Okay. But then God says, no, it wasn't supposed to be Ishmael. Isaac's coming. And Isaac is going to be the blessed child. Oh, but I'm still blessing Ishmael. He's of your lineage. I'm going to make of him a great nation. Which all of those Arabs united under Islam. And by the way, they became a nation that went from Spain all the way to India. All the way across the northern coast of Africa. Huge nation. Okay? But Doug, isn't Isaac supposed to be blessed more? Yeah, he's the son of promise, right? So, well, I got you. I'm ready to argue. When David and Solomon ruled, okay, Assyria was weak at the time. Egypt was weak at the time. They were probably the greatest nation on earth, the wealthiest. Okay, but all from Spain to India, all the way across the northern coast of Africa, just like, so he calls out Abram. Abram has Isaac. Isaac blesses Jacob. Jacob's 12 sons. Oh, we forgot this little picture of slavery for 400 years. But then Moses, and a great nation, just like he promised. And they go into the promised land, and you have Joshua, Moses, Joshua, and they start to conquer the land of Canaan, but still they don't listen. And then there's the judges, and it ends with Samuel, And then, this is who they are, Justin. This is who I am. This is who I am. I start here. I go all the way back to Abram. And Judges answer, we want a king. There's Saul. David. Solomon. Everything seems to be just moving all along. Yes, this is coming now. Nation, powerful. We're going to rule. It's about to happen. They're looking for the promise. They're looking for Genesis 17 to happen. But then there's Rehoboam. Not too bright, Rehoboam. Taxes are too high. Your dad built a whole lot. We need a little bit of break. Oh, I'm the man. Don't come and ask me a question. Let me tell you, parents don't act this way. How dare you ask me a question? I'll show you who's boss. More taxes. And the nation split. Now, from the very beginning of the split, this is what you have to understand. From the very beginning of the split, boom, 10 tribes go. It didn't stay really 10 very long because the first thing they had to do, they had to change the religious system. Look, if I have all of the nation traveling down Jerusalem to the worship, they might want to get back together at some point. I need to protect my lineage going forward. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to set up new high places and new temples. And to do that, I need new priests. So pretty much all the Levites left the 10 tribes at the top and went downtown. But there was idolatry from the beginning. The northern tribes, the northern Samaria, the capital, the northern kingdom was started in idolatry. And it lasted about 200 years. I think it's 208. Which, by the way, is pretty close to where we are. How far have we moved from what we intended at the birth of our nation? And then Assyria comes in. And there's verse after verse. This Isaiah, 2 Kings, it tells us they ceased to exist. Assyria was the mightiest nation on earth. They had mastered besieging cities. In fact, you read later that they besieged 46 of Judah's strong cities and took every single one of them. They lost none. They started from the top and got all the way down to Jerusalem. 46 of them besieged and destroyed. They came through, they destroyed every one of them, and whatever was left, they shipped, and 2 Kings tells us, no, Chronicles, they shipped them to the furthest edge, the eastern edge of their empire. And Justin, hence comes the legend of the missing tribes, except for this. Chapter 2, O Jacob, there will be a remnant of all of thee. We don't really have time, but I'll tell you there's never been any missing tribes. Because as they came down into the northern kingdom, Israel enlarged its size 15 times. Yeah. Want to know why that was? Where do you think all those refugees ran? In fact, if you read about Hezekiah's rule, it says he strengthened the walls and built a new wall. You know why he had to do that? He had to build a wall around the refugee camp. God protected for himself a remnant. All of thee, O Jacob. Now, 100 years later, they would go into Babylon. And we'll go into some of this as we continue in the book. And 70 years later, he brought back a remnant. That remnant wasn't just 3 of the children. It was all of the children. Anyway, Justin, we're out of time. We close in word prayer.
worship over this church. Father, that's ahead of it. We thank you for the upcoming services